What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the vlog. I wanted to give a quick update before we hop into the video here. Obviously, I'm not in Dallas anymore. Right now, I'm currently spending the next month in Vancouver, and I'm going to be grinding some online tournaments and live cash games as well. I'm giving daily updates on my Instagram, so go follow me at GilJackPoker. The link's in the description, whatever. I'm also going to be posting shorts for the next 30 days, showing you guys like what an everyday life is like for me. So if you guys like that content, let me know in the description as well. Like I mentioned, I'm really focusing right now on online tournaments. So if you guys want to see more, I'm going to be streaming on YouTube as well, some deep runs, final tables. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog. We are once again going to dive into the Texas cash game action here at Poker House Dallas. We are into the 1-2 game for $500, and this one is a fun one. Let's get right into it. If you guys enjoyed the content, click the subscribe button if you want to see more. Let's get right into the first hand. In the first hand, we look down at Ace-5 of hearts in the hijack. There's a $5 button straddle. The under the gun player limps. I make it $30 to go, and we get looked up by the small blind and button player. So we're going three ways to a flop, which is Queen 5-3 with 2 diamonds. Flop middle pair. When the small blind checks to me, I think in between 2 opponents, I should be checking this board. Middle pair, top kicker. We definitely are going to call a bet, but check to see what the button is going to do. So that's what I do, and the button decides to check it around. Turn card now is the deuce of hearts. It's a great card because it's under our pair, and it improves us to the gut shot to the wheel, and a 4 would give us a straight. Small blind checks once again, and now I think I should bet here for protection. Get called by draws and worse pairs, hands like ace-3, ace-deuce. So that's what I do. I bet out for $40, and we only get looked up by 1 player, and that is on the button. The river now is the 7 of clubs, and I think my hand is a little bit too weak here to go for value. I think I could either put out a really small bet or check and evaluate to see what he does. I decide to check and see what he does, and he decides to put out a bet, and it's pretty large. It's $105. This definitely doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I assume he would have bet a queen on the flop when it gets checked to him, so I think I can take top pair out of his range. What he's repping here could be a straight like 4-6 suited or something like that. I think he'd probably raise a set on the turn, so I'm not really buying what he's selling here. He could have like Jack 9 of diamonds, Jack 8 of diamonds. He could have Ace 6, just a gutter on the turn. So I think I'm going to be putting in the call here, be the hero. I put in the $105, and he shows us the 10-9 for 10 high. Let's go. We're going to scoop a pot with just third pair, making a good call right off the bat. Love to see it. Moving on, we have pocket deuces in the big blind, $750 in our stack. There's a $5 button straddle, middle position limps. The low jack raises to $25, and the hijack comes along. We're going to go set mining here, looking for a deuce on the flop. So I close the action by putting in the call. The flop gives us a set. Let's go. Jack 9 deuce with 2 hearts. I check and flow to the initial aggressor, and the player in the low jack continues betting for $50, a little bit of a bigger sizing here, and that's exactly what we love to see. When the hijack puts in the call, this is just a dream. I'm absolutely going to be check raising here, so I make it $150 to go. I think with a player in between the 50, I probably want to be making it $200 to $250. We unblock all the draws, top pairs, over pairs, so there's so much we could get value from here. I think a big raise would be much better. But 150 is fine. That's what I did in the moment. And luckily for us, it doesn't really matter because the low jack goes all in for $450. Hijack folds. I snap call with bottom set. Assuming he has top pair or an over pair, let's go to a run out. The turn card is the 8 of clubs, river card 4 of clubs. I show my set, and he shows queen jack for top pair. We got the maximum value, and that's what we love to see. Action at these Texas cash games. Getting in stacks with just an average top pair. Love to see it. This pot's going to be almost $1,000 here early in the session. Let's go. We then look down at ace jack offsuit on the cutoff. There's a $5 button straddle, 2 limps. The hijack raises to $15, and I decided to 3-bet to $50. I think this is probably a 3-better fold spot, and I think hijack versus cutoff, definitely 3-betting is good. I think I could even go a little bit bigger with the limpers in between, but the hijack puts in the call and the button puts in the call, so a 3-way 3-bet pot. Going to a flop, which is jack high, jack 7-7 with 2 clubs. Top pair is always going to be good. I assume if my opponents had aces, kings, or queens, they would have 4-bet me pre-flop. So I think we're going to have the best hand here a lot of the time. It's possible they could have 8-7 suited, 7-6 suited, or something like that. But it's going to be unlikely, knowing there's 2 7s on the board. The hijack decides to lead out into me, though, for $50. This is definitely a little bit strange. And I think it's probably pretty indicative of a hand like pocket 10s, pocket 9s, thinking that I have a hand like ace-queen, ace-king. Or it could be a flush draw type of hand, king, queen of clubs, king, 10 of clubs, or something like that. So I think raising here for value is definitely good. I put in a raise to $130 in position. I don't need to go crazy big, so this seems pretty good to me. And when the hijack puts in the call here, I still think I have the best hand, but I'm still going to proceed with caution. The turn now comes the ace of diamonds, improving us to top 2 pair. It seems really good for me. I'm not sure if it's going to scare off my opponent. If he has a hand like king jack or queen jack, then we're probably going to lose a little bit of value here. But when he checks it over to me, I think we could probably pot control here, maybe get him to bluff the river. It's possible he could have a hand like 10-9, 10-8, queen 9 of clubs or something like that that might want to bluff off the river. I think I could either put out a small bet or check here. In the moment, I decided to check back, leading us to a perfect river card, the 3 of spades. Nothing gets there, and once he checks it over to me once again, it's pretty indicative that he has a 1 pair type of holding, like maybe jack 10, queen jack, or pocket 10s, pocket 9s. So I think I'm going to have to bet here, but not too big. I want to squeak out a little bit more value. The ace was probably very scary for him, so I just bet out $100 here, and he pretty quickly puts in the call. I show him the ace jack top 2 pair, and he shows us the pocket kings. We got lucky there on the turn. He flatted 2 kings pre-flop, and he definitely got burned. Lucky turn card for us there. I didn't think he would have that type of hand. I'm glad we went with a small river bet, though. I'm not sure how much he would have called with that hand. But one thing is for sure, we are running good here early in the session. Our stack is up to almost $1,400 at this point. Let's go.
Quick announcement, guys. If you want to play some online poker from anywhere in the world, anytime, cash games, tournaments, all stakes, very secure, click the link in the description. I play on there all the time. The action is bananas. It's like Texas action, but online. You can't find any club that's better. Click the link in the description or message me on Instagram or something like that. I'll get you set up. Hope I see you there.
We now look down at jack 8 of diamonds on the cutoff. There's 4 limps, and you know I'm going to be raising this up. We have a playable suited 3-gapper, and that's all I need to put money in the middle. I make it 40 bucks to go, and luckily we only thin down the field to heads up when the hijack puts in the call. Going in position to a flop, which is ace queen 7 with 1 diamond. It's a really good board for my range. We also have a lot of backdoor draws, so there's definitely some barrel opportunity on turns and rivers. When he checks it over to me, I'm going to be putting out a C bet here. Don't need to go too big. The bet is $35, and he pretty quickly sticks in the call here. So looking for a turn card that could give us a little bit more equity, and I guess it kind of is. It's the 10 of spades. Front door flush draw completes, but now we have a gutter to the straight being a 9. Obviously, can't depend on it, but it seems like this board is definitely going to favor me. When he limp calls, it's possible he could have a hand like 9-8 of spades or something like that, but it's also possible for him to have a hand like queen jack, king queen, jack 10. Those hands will probably fold turn if they don't have a spade. On this turn card, when he checks it over to me, I think it's typically going to be a small bet. If we just turned a flush with like king 9, king 8, or maybe even the royal with king jack of spades, we definitely wouldn't want to bet too big. And if we had a set, we would definitely be a little bit concerned about the flush. So we'd probably go a small bet. That's what we're going to do here. Maybe set up a big bet on the river. I bet out for 60 bucks, and he thinks about it for a little while. Not a snap call, but he eventually does put in the call. The river card is the 5 of hearts, and he checks it over to me once again. I think you guys know where this one is going. We have jack high, nothing. And the thing about this board is it's going to be pretty difficult for him to have a flush. The ace, queen, and 10 are all on the board. Those are all pretty important cards for a lot of his flush combos. It's possible he could have like 9-8 of spades, king 9 of spades, king 8 of spades, and of course the royal king jack. But we have jack high, and we are not going to be checking back and losing this pot. So I gather a few chips together and put out a decently sized bet here of $155. In the moment, it felt like a little bit more, but it's only half pot. I think definitely a little bit bigger here to generate more fold equity. Something like $250 to $275, closer to the size of the pot. And he goes into the tank. My heart is beating, and he eventually decides to fold his cards. We get one through with the jack high, and we take down a really nice pot there. I'm pretty glad the way we played it. He said that he folded an ace, and that's exactly what we were targeting. It's always nice when a bluff gets through. In the next hand, we look down at king queen of diamonds. There's 2 limps, and the low jack player raises to 35 bucks. The cutoff puts in the call. We are in the big blind, and we are going to be 3-betting this one, and we need to go big out of position. $160 from my stack goes into the middle. That's a 3-bet. And now, unfortunately, the middle position player jams. All in for $260. It's not enough to get me to fold, so we're going to have to gamble here. I put in the call, and we're going to go to a run out, and we end up just with king high on an all-low board, and he has aces. So we're drawing pretty slim there anyway. Just thought I'd throw this in there, but we're going to move on to the next hand, a little unlucky. In the next one, we have 10-8 of diamonds in the small blind. Now, this might be one of the worst poorly played hands I've ever played in my life, so bear with me. Everybody makes mistakes, all right? But there's a $5 button straddle in my buddy Funky Poker, and under the gun +1 raises to 25 bucks. The cutoff puts in the call, and I think I could either 3-bet or call here. I decide to take it easy after 3-betting the king queen. Just put in the call, and the big blind puts in the call as well. Going to a flop now, which is Jack 4 deuce with 1 diamond. Not too great for us, but we have some good backdoor draws. The action checks over to the cutoff, who bets out for $30. When the cutoff puts in the call, the action is on me now. I mentioned we have backdoor draws, and definitely this hand might make a good check raise. Any diamond, 7, 9, queen would give us some barrel equity on the turn. And calling from the small blind, we're going to have pocket deuces, pocket fours, a hand like Jack 10. So we definitely can credibly rep some strong hands on this board. And I want to fold out a hand like pocket nines, pocket sevens, or something like that. So I put in the check raise here, 120 bucks. It's a little ambitious. And here's the reason why I don't love this check raise in hindsight. We don't really have any pure equity. I would rather check raise a hand like Queen 10 of diamonds because there's an overcard to the Jack. So we want to have a little bit of equity. Right now, we're just ripping it with nothing. We have like 5% equity against most hands. So we're going to have to try to get lucky here or bet our opponents out of the hand. Hopefully they both fold, but that is not the case. They both call. So yeah, I'm not sure what we're doing here, but I'm sitting here in a big pot with 10 high. Hopefully the turn gives us some equity. But it does not. It's the deuce of hearts, and it's actually probably one of the worst cards in the deck for me to barrel on, but you know me, I still go for it. $250 now. This is why it's a terrible card. It reduces our combos of value because pocket deuces was definitely a big one. Now that's reduced to only one combo being quads. And also if they have a hand like pocket 10s or pocket 9s or even a hand like king jack, it's not a scare card for them at all. So this is definitely a terrible card to bluff on. Not sure why I bet, but I did. The player in the hijack goes into the tank, and he actually gets called clock on him. So, yeah, he was in a really, really tough spot. He eventually decided to fold his cards, and then after that, the cutoff snap jammed all in for 750 bucks. So, yeah, this was a terribly played hand. Let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, I fold my cards, and he shows us that he flopped a set with pocket fours. So never getting him off that hand, obviously. Got a little bit ambitious there, and maybe a little bit tilted from the king-queen. I don't know. But we're going to move on to the next hand, put it behind us, and still try to play our A game. We're going to try to get some of that back with ace-queen of hearts in the hijack. There's a $5 button straddle, and the low jack opens to $25. Ace-queen of hearts is a premium. We're going to be 3-betting to $75. And the player on the low jack puts in the call, so we're going to go heads up in position on the player directly to our right. To an ace-high flop, but not only is it ace-high, has 2 hearts. What a dream. Ace-9-7 with 2 hearts. We absolutely smashed this board, exactly what we needed here. The low jack checks to me, and I'm going to put out a c-bet here for $55. It's about a third the size of the pot, pretty standard on this board. And he puts in the call before we see the nuts on the turn, the deuce of hearts. Let's go. We have the best possible hand on this board, and hopefully we can get all the money in on the river. He checks it over to me once again, and if you remember the Jack 8 hand from earlier, I bet pretty small when the flush completed on the turn because I mentioned I wouldn't want to scare away a lot of his hands. He could have pocket jacks with a heart, pocket 10s with a heart, ace 10, ace jack. We don't want to bet big and scare those hands off, so I decided to put a small bet like I did with Jack 8. I bet out for $90 here on the turn, just trying to squeeze some value and maybe induce a few bluff raises with a hand like Jack 10, maybe pocket 8s or pocket 10s with a heart that want to rep the flush. And he actually does go for a raise here. What a dream. $230 he puts in the middle. And sitting here with the stone cold nuts, we're going to be in position on the river, so I don't think it's going to be too hard to get all the money in. And I want to keep his bluffs in there, so just putting in the call is what I'm going to do. Trying not to reveal the strength of my hand. This pot is getting big, and we have the nuts. What a life we're living here. The river card is clean. It's the jack of diamonds. And the action starts on him. What's he going to do? I have about $630 left, and he covers me. His decision is to go all in. Let's go. I put in the snap call and show him that I have the nuts, and he looks very, very sick to his stomach. When he shows me the 8-6 of hearts, so he actually had a lower flush, and he actually wasn't dead on the turn because he was open-ended to the straight flush. That would have been crazy. But we're going to scoop a massive, massive pot here. Almost $2,000. Definitely one of the bigger pots I've played. We absolutely love to see it. We get a full double up. Let's go. All right, you thought that last hand was crazy. This next one is going to be a thinker. This one's insane, and it's against my buddy Funky Poker. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. He makes some really awesome vlogs as well. I have pocket jacks on the button straddle, so I put $5 on the button. The hijack player raises to $50 off of a $200 stack, definitely pretty indicative of a strong hand. If you play a lot of live cash, this is definitely going to be the very, very top of his range. I won't be folding pocket jacks here, and I'll probably just put them all in for $200. Go for a little gamble. But when my buddy Funky in the small blind puts in the call, this is really weird because I don't think he's ever going to be doing this with a super strong hand. Although the $50 is super strong, he could have a hand like king, queen, ace, jack, ace 10, maybe lower pocket pairs like 9s or 8s. So I definitely want to squeeze here. I want to try to isolate the guy's last $200, so that's what I do. I raise it up to $200. Having last action is very nice, especially when you pick up a premium like pocket jacks. But to my surprise, Funky puts in the call here from the small blind. Definitely was not thinking this would happen, but the other player calls as well. He actually has $45 left behind, so he had like $250. But this is pretty strange. I don't think he's ever going to have a bigger pair than us. I assume he probably would have raised the guy's 50, or he would have back raised my squeeze. So I think it's likely he has a hand like pocket 8s through 10s, king, queen, ace, jack, something like that. So now we're going to a flop, which is queen, 9, 6 with 2 diamonds. Funky checks, and the player goes all in for his $45. And I'm not really sure what to do here, whether to call or raise. Obviously, the queen isn't great out there. We lose to king, queen, and ace, queen. But I think we could still have the best hand a lot of the time. We beat ace, king, pocket 10s, pocket 8s, stuff like that. Ace, jack, ace 10 still. So I just put in the call here to see what Funky decides to do. And he decides to go for the check raise to $175. Not really sure what to think about this. Maybe he has a set like pocket 9s or pocket 6s, but I know this guy. I've played 1,000 hands with this guy, probably more. We definitely get way out of line with each other. His blind preflop was really strange, so I can't be folding here. I gotta stick in the call and see what the turn brings in. The turn card now is definitely one of the best cards in the deck besides a jack. It's the 9 of hearts. One of the biggest hands he was repping on the flop would be pocket 9s. It definitely reduces the combos of sets, leaving only one being quads. Funky goes into the tank here and decides to go all in for his last $400. And now I go into the tank. What do we do here? Before I tell you, comment down below. This is a really tricky spot. Sure, he could have ace, queen. Sure, he could have king, queen. Sure, he could have pocket 9s for quads, but it's really narrow. That's just about the only value he could have. He could still have a hand like ace, jack, ace 10, pocket 10s, pocket 8s, pocket 7s. Those hands would want to bluff here, and I know if you guys go watch his videos, he gets out of line. He gets a little funky at times. In hindsight, jacks is probably one of the worst hands to call because we double block a hand like ace, jack, king, jack, jack 10, which would be a draw. And we also have a diamond and a heart in our hand blocking those combo draws. So our exact combo isn't the best to call. For some reason, something was telling me that something was just off, and he was making a move with like king, jack, ace 10 or something. So I put in the call with the jacks. The river card is the 7 of diamonds, and Funky shows pocket aces. What? How do you have pocket aces there? I did not think he would have aces or kings in this spot, and he decided to switch it up. The other player had ace, king, so we had him beat, but Funky had the bullets. He decided to slow play pre on the $50 raise and continue the slow play when I 3-bet. Definitely put me in the blender. Nice switch up there. And yeah, we got punished in a big pot. Comment down below what you thought of my play there. The river call was a little iffy, but you know, sometimes you got to keep people honest. Definitely a swingy session so far. We have pocket 7s in the big blind. There's a $5 button straddle like there always is. The cutoff raises to $30. The small blind calls. I'm going to put in the call here as well, and the button comes along, closing the action. We're looking for a 7 on the flop, and we find one. It's queen, queen, 7. We flop a full house. Let's go. The action starts on the small blind. He checks to me, and I'm going to check it in flow to the original raiser in the cutoff. Unfortunately, the action is going to check around on the flop, but the turn card is hopefully pretty good for us, the ace of spades. Hopefully somebody just binged top pair, or maybe somebody was slow playing a queen on the flop. This card is going to probably be a high-frequency bet from the original raiser pre-flop, so when the small blind checks to me, I could bet, but I decide to set the ultra trap here, checking 2 streets with a boat. I check it over to the cutoff, and he takes the bait. He bets out for $30. Definitely not a huge bet, but when the button puts in the call, the action's on the small blind, and he goes for the check raise to $110, and hopefully this means he has a queen, and we're going to get all the money. But what do we do here? Do we want to raise? Do we want to call? Calling definitely looks suspicious, but raising is probably way stronger. So I guess I just put in the call here, trying to maybe string one of the other players along as well. And the action's on the cutoff, and I'm waiting to see what he's going to do. And he goes all in for $260. What a dream spot for us. The button folds, and the small blind unfortunately folds as well. I thought we were going to get his stack too. But I put in the call and show him that I have pocket 7s, and he shows queen, jack. And we're going to run 2 boards here. First river is the deuce of clubs. Second river is the 9 of diamonds. And we're going to scoop this pot. The small blind said he folded a queen. I'm not sure if I really believe him, but he could have been a bad queen. It would make sense. The lines were very strong there on the turn. The dealer pushes a massive pot our way. Love to see it. We are getting lucky, running good. Let's go. We have a few more hands in this session here we're going to go over. Ace 3 of clubs in the button straddle. There's 2 limps. The hijack raises to 15 bucks. They both make the call. The action is on me. We could call or we could 3-bet. And if you've been watching this channel long enough, you know what I'm going to do. I make it $80 to go. If you want to be aggressive, the suited ace is definitely going to be a really good hand to bluff raise with. We only get called by the original raiser being the hijack. So we're going to go heads up in position to a flop, which is Jack 8-9 with 1 club. Not really great for me. It's going to favor my opponent a bit more. That being said, if I had a hand like kings, queens, ace, jack, pocket 8s or something like that, I'd want to bet big on this board from protection from straight draws and stuff like that. So that's what I do. I'm going to act like I have one of those big hands and I bet out bigger for $110 on this board. We have a backdoor flush draw and an overcard. Hopefully the turn can give us some equity if we get called. And she does put in the call. We're going to go off to a turn, which is the 9 of clubs. It gives us a flush draw here, but it also pairs the board. And this is where the hand gets really interesting. She leads out into me for $75, a very small lead. And I'm really interested to see what this is. I don't really know what she's trying to represent here when she leads for $75. It seems very, very weak to me, like a hand like pocket 10s, pocket 7s, maybe like king queen or something like that. I don't think she's ever going to lead this size or even lead with a 9. She'd probably go for the check jam on the turn if she had a 9, so I'm really confused on what this is. The turn card gave me some equity, and I have an idea. This is a very weak play. If she has a weak top pair or a lower pocket pair, she would easily fold to a jam. I have aces, kings, queens, jacks, 8s, all that in my range here. So I'm going to represent it with the flush draw. I go all in, and it's a pretty big jam. It's for $600 more. So $675 total. That's lots of fold equity for us. I don't think she's even going to be able to call off with like queen jack. So I think this is a really good jam from me. And if we do get called, then we have outs. Presumably she doesn't have a full house, but we have outs to the flush. She very quickly folds her cards. We don't even have to sweat this one. And we decided to show the table this time. We're having fun. And we show her that we just had the ace 3. And she later told us that she had 7-6. So we actually had the best hand. And that's exactly what I thought she would be leading with. Some weird draw, some weird pair, something like that. So glad we decided to go for the jam there. And we are playing aggressive, good poker. In the next hand, we look down at king 10 offsuit in the small blind. There's a $5 under the gun straddle this time. 4 limps. And I'm going to raise it up here to 50 bucks. You could say maybe fold, maybe call, but I think raise is probably the best option here. And there's 4 limps. We want to attack. And only the middle position player calls, so we're going to go heads up to a flop, which is 10 high. It's 10-9 deuce with 2 clubs. Really great for our hand, obviously flopping top pair with a really good kicker. But I don't think it's going to be that good for our range. It's probably going to be better for the limp caller's range. So for that reason, I decide to check it over to my opponent with plans to check raise. Unfortunately, he doesn't bet, but he checks it back. We see the king of hearts now on the turn. A great card, improving us to top 2 pair. Start putting money in the middle here. Don't need to go too big. Don't want to scare my opponent off his hand. So I'm out for 60 bucks here. And fortunately, he puts in the call. The river now is the 4 of spades, Brick City on the river. And now we have to decide what kind of sizing we want to use here. We've underrepped our hand. We checked the flop. We could get value from a king. We could get value from a pocket pair or a hand like Jack 9 maybe. I want to make it look like a bluff. I want to make it look like I missed my draw on the turn or something. So I bet out big for 215 bucks here. Looking to get looked up by top pair or a sticky second or third pair. Unfortunately, he does not put in the call. He folds his cards, but that's okay. We are going to move on to the next hand. 2 more hands for you guys here. We look down at king 8 of diamonds in the button straddle. There's 4 limps, and I raise it up to $40. Funky in the big blind puts in the call, and Rosie under the gun puts in the calls. Rosie from Next Gen and my buddy Funky Poker. Us 3 are going to battle it out right now. We're going to a flop, which is 10-4-3 rainbow with 1 diamond. The action checks to me, and do we want to c-bet on this board? It's very dry. We could definitely get some folds from a hand like King Queen, King Jack, King 10, maybe some ace highs, but I think we definitely want to see a turn card with this hand, maybe improve to the backdoor flush draw of sorts. So that's what I do. I check it back, and the turn card does give us a little bit more equity. It's the 6 of diamonds, improving us to a flush draw. Funky in the big blind checks it over to Rosie, who decides to bet out for $80, and the action is now on me. It's a pretty big bet, and obviously not getting the right price to call with just a flush draw. We do have an overcard to go along, and I do believe we could bluff on some runouts if it comes an overcard to the 10. I think it's likely Rosie has a hand like pocket 5s, pocket 7s, maybe 10-9, Jack 10, something like that. He could have a set, but I think we need to float here in position and evaluate a river, so that's what I do. And Funky gets out of the way. We're going to a river card, which is not a club, but is pretty good for my range. It's the ace of clubs. Should be a scare card for any of his hands if he doesn't have better than one pair. The action starts on Rosie, and he decides to check it over to me, and this basically gives me the green light to pull the trigger. I could definitely have a lot of ace X of diamonds. I would even float maybe with like ace 5, so this river is definitely going to be very good for me. If he has a hand like pocket 8s, pocket 7s, 10-9, jack 10, it's going to be really difficult for him to call a big bet here on the river. Now, he knows how I play. He knows that I like to bluff, but that can't stop me from pulling the trigger. We have king high, and we are not going to win here, so we have to put out a bet, and I'm going to make it big, 290 bucks, almost the size of the pot. You have to go polar. I'm going to act like I have ace king, ace queen, ace jack here. Rosie goes into the tank. He's thinking, and I'm saying, please fold, man, because I got king high. So what do you have? He eventually finds the muck. Let's go. Another bluff pulled through, and we eventually tell him later what we had, and he was very disappointed. He told us that he had pocket 7s. Definitely makes sense, and I'm glad we pulled the trigger there on the river.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We were into that game for $500 and out for $2,165. That's a profit of $1,665. Insane these last few sessions in Dallas. But let me tell you, I made another trip in April, and that session was crazy. I played 2 of my biggest pots being $4,000, so that'll be really soon in the coming vlogs. Stay tuned for that, and like I mentioned, go follow me on Instagram so you can see all of my daily updates and stuff like that. Stay tuned for the next one, guys. See you later.